So I am going to, and for those of you who this is your first time, welcome. We're so glad that you are here. For those of you who are here, you've been here and you keep coming, because we need you here. We need your voice. We need you to share your experiences, and you need to keep growing and stretching in this work. So keep coming. So when you see this title, what comes up for you?
The spaghetti western. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. For now, I feel like I started off in just because talking about motherhood, and I guess if this conversation is specifically about our own mothers, is yeah, it was particularly difficult for me. So I guess a lot of times I start off in things like in a justful way to alleviate some of the anxiety about having conversations about my mother. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And you see at the top it says the impact on a girl like me. Girl like me.
What is a girl like me?
Who is you? Who's a girl like you? Girl like you.
That? Well, because it's like, on a girl like me, everybody in here is,
a girl like you. Who are you? What was it? And it's for you to personalize it. Pam, if you try again. I don't know why it said a particular quantity. Try again. You should be able to download now. So that's what it means. The impact on you. We're making it personal.
Okay. So a girl like me is specific to me.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I was going to say, when it says impact on a girl like me, I think of like the different character traits that I had. So normally, like if I think about me, like what was my foundation, like what influenced or impacted, my behaviors, my attitudes, my train of thought, and then what have I done to either improve, learn and unlearn and relearn, all that type of stuff. And then, of course, I'm a mother now myself, so that's what I think.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Okay. So objectives, what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to gain an understanding, insight into the various ways our mothers have influenced us. Again, we're going to make it personal, right? Healing, work through some of the unresolved emotions. And I should be very specific. Start working through. And please understand that this is all a choice. Because, some people like staying stuck. It's okay. I did not put the poem in here. For those of you who know, I will put the poem by Portia Nelson, There's a Hole in My Sidewalk. Line 3 or stanza 3 is that habitual behavior where you continue to fall into the hole, right? If your inner child has some trauma around your relationship with your mother and you have not healed that, but you keep having behaviors that irritate that wound, then you're going to keep doing the behaviors. So it is a choice to start working through these unresolved emotions. Okay. And then empowerment, develop strategies to foster healthier self-perception and other relationships as well. What I always say, it starts with you. It has to start with you. It has to. All right. The hierarchy of needs. I didn't put the point, but I did put the hierarchy. Whenever I do these meetings and the podcast or whatever, I want to make sure that we're doing it and we're being intentional, right? And so the hierarchy of needs really talks about how you are on your journey and you are walking towards your purpose or your self-actualization, right? And so what we're going to talk about tonight is very foundational. It's really in the physiological needs and safety needs. Now, I rarely talk about the physiological needs because they're usually taken for granted. That's why we don't talk about them. They're a given. What we do know is that they're not always a given. They are not. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. We're going to talk about safety pies and what I mean about safety pies. Safety is more than just the physical safety of your body, of your house, of your environment, right? That's the P. But the I is intellectual or mental safety. The E is emotional safety. And the S is spiritual or social safety. So you see, it says safety first. Those are things that are really important and impactful to you on your journey and how you build a life that you want to have. So just so you know, that's really where we're focusing. And I will say, you see, the next step is love and belonging. So if you have issues in physiological needs and safety needs, you're going to have a problem connecting in love and belonging. You're going to have some issues in self-respect or respect or esteem as a whole, and you'll have some problems in self-actualization. Doesn't mean you can't get there. It means that you might have some difficulties getting there. This is what you should have downloaded, managing all the feels. Now, the page on the inside looks different than this wheel of emotions, right? I used a different wheel, but I want you to be able to manage your feelings and emotions, right? One of the words that folks weaponize, I'm just going to say it the way I feel it, about women, in particular Black women, is that we are so emotional. Would that be true? Would that not be true? What do you all think?
I would agree.
Yeah, we're emotional.
Very angry.
Thank you. So I was waiting for somebody to say it. Very angry Black woman. Yeah, angry. Or the other one that people weaponize, bitter.
Oh, yeah.
Bitter and angry. Angry and bitter.
Angry. And some of us also just like envious or jealous.
Yeah. And so I want to offer this, and this book, it kind of helps you navigate your feelings and emotions and helps you to further process. So if you've never seen the feelings wheel or the emotions wheel, in the middle are some of the basic emotions. So happy, sad, happy, mad. That's usually what people will say their emotions are. It's just those three. When in actuality, there is a long list of different emotions that we can and do experience. We just don't really tap into it. And so the middle emotions and the way that they've broken it out is mad, scared, happy, strong, calm, sad, right? And so these are the basic emotions, what they would say. And so maybe you go to a particular emotion and you say, hey, I'm feeling mad. Okay. Maybe I'm feeling, maybe not really mad, but maybe it's hurt. Am I hurt? Or is it rage? Or maybe I'm feeling jealous. I don't know. And it just gives you something to think a little bit deeper. And maybe it's not even that you're feeling mad. You might be like, actually, mad isn't it at all. I'm actually feeling rejected. Maybe it went from hurt to rejected. Because, I don't know, my friends don't, or I don't feel accepted, or I feel excluded. Do you see how that works? Thoughts, feelings, emotions.
I love the feelings wheel.
I love it when you use it too, because it really works, I believe.
I love the feelings wheel. It makes you really get in touch with what you're feeling, because I think there are just so many feelings, and to really pinpoint where you're at with it just sort of helps to get to the crux of what is actually on your mind.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So this book kind of really talks about digging deeper and asking yourselves questions and sitting with you. So that is the beginning of this, okay? Do you see I'm setting up something for us to be able to do the work of you moving through healing? Because a lot of times we don't have the tools to adequately navigate what healings looks like or manage the feelings that come up when you are trying to heal. Because a lot of times, I've heard this a lot, if I let myself feel, I won't be able to get it back together. Has anybody said that before?
Yes, I think I felt like that today.
Yeah. And I get it. That can be scary if you don't know how to manage the feelings that you are feeling. Okay? So I'm glad you all... Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think I get caught up in, like, I let myself feel, but I don't let myself express.
Say more.
It's like, I can think of situations where it's like someone made me feel a certain way, but I was afraid to express how the situation made me feel because I'm still trying to put my finger on this. Maybe it was because I felt like I was going to lose something, or they were going to react in a way that would reject me, or I don't know, maybe they wanted to fight. I don't know. Like, it was just that, but that's my point. The fear of the unknown if I were to express myself.
Yeah. The repercussion, or the thought that there is or will be a repercussion. Yeah.
I can relate to that. That's probably happened several times and throughout the course of my life in many different relationships. And just expressing how I feel about, a way that another person has made me feel. So I agree with that.
I love this. I'm making a note of that. Emotion and expression.
And I can also add to that by saying it actually makes me feel worse days later because I'm replaying the situation in my head to be like, well, I should have said this, I should have did this. Well, why didn't I do that? And then I kind of start beating myself up to be like, well, what am I deficient in? Am I not confident? Like, why do I feel like I can't say what I need to say?
Okay.
Agreed.
Wow.
Agreed.
She ain't lying.
Hello, everyone. Can I add to that as well?
Of course you can. So glad you're here and you adding.
So, the issue that I have is that ever since I was a little child, I was a very sensitive child. My son is double sensitive now, and I'm just like, oh my God. But I was a very sensitive child where you could just yell at me and I started crying. And I was always told that I was a crybaby, things like that. So when it came to expressing my emotions, I didn't feel comfortable doing it because of because of my mom and my sisters, like my dad, they all always said that I was either too sensitive or I was a crybaby or something to that effect. So now that I'm an adult, when I express my feelings, it seems like it either get dismissed or it make it seem like I'm just angry when I'm not. It's just that I guess for a long period of time, if your feelings are being dismissed in silence, then it's like you don't know how to express yourself, or you try to express yourself in a positive light and it continues to get dismissed, and it seems like people don't respond until you have that attitude that Black women are stereotyped with. And then once you respond in that way, that's when the whole you're angry, you're bitter type lingo comes around. So that's, and I know I'm going on a tangent, I'm sorry.
No, you're not. But no, please do not apologize. Continue.
But it's just, it gets to a point where it's like when you express your feelings and you try to express it in a positive way, it gets dismissed or whatever the case may be. And when you try to express it just a normal, expression or how you feel at that moment you express it, it's automatically looked at you either combative, you're angry, you're bitter. So it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword. What is the point of me even expressing my feelings to anyone?
Thank you for
and
that.
That's how I feel sometimes. And I mean, it's just, especially when it comes to my son's father, I don't like having like real deep conversations with him because I don't think he knows how to express himself because like he doesn't like confrontation. So if I go back and forth with him, just a normal conversation going back and forth, the first thing he's gonna say is, oh, well, there's no reason to have a confrontation, or oh, there's no reason for us to go back and forth, or there's no reason to argue when it's just a conversation of two adults disagreeing. You're expressing your point, I'm expressing mine, but I guess because I'm not agreeing with what you're saying and I'm going against what you're saying, you automatically want to label me as being argumentative and combative.
Yeah. Again, what you dealt with was the socialization of what you were, which was emotional. And you were, an empath, basically. You empathized, and what you did was started to turn that off. Instead of being on this side, you went all the way over here and overcompensated. And now you're like, let me tell you, let me show you. So, yeah, I understand that. Thank you for sharing that. So when I wrote down that we're going to loop back around and do emotions, but also expressions of emotions. But I also think in doing this work, we'll be able to give voice to, because I truly believe that when you are in the child position, Okay? We're grown women here, right? But your inner child is still in a child position, right? And your inner child shows up and your voice closes, your mouth closes, and you stop saying what it is that you feel like you need to say, right? And some of that trauma your parents or your mother or family and friends have created because of lack of safety creates that silence because you don't want the repercussion. All right. So we're going to start here. So I'm inviting all of you to take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And let's get started. So I want you to think about when you were a little girl and what you felt like you needed. Who were you? What made you smile? What made you mad? If anybody wants to share, that would be amazing.
What made me smile when my grandfather would come home from working, he'd always bring me a honey bun.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I'll say that I needed to hear I love you and I needed hugs.
Hugs and I love you. Thank you for sharing.
Positive affirmations.
Positive affirmations. Good job. Keep going. You're doing good. I'm here for you. I love you. You mean the world to me. Yeah.
I need us to feel protected and, of course, words of affirmation.
Protection. Yeah. That's my baby. You're not going to say nothing about my baby.
Oh, this is funny, but I used to love it when my parents would tell me we're going bye-bye. I'm like, we're going bye-bye?
Yes.
Yay. I can't wait to go outside. I'm getting ready to go on an outing.
That's amazing.
Love to go bye-bye.
I love that. I feel like that memory in particular is tied to a specific age. And every time you think about it, you're like,
Yeah, I mean, I was really small.
Yeah.
I was really small, and that was definitely a different time in my life.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing it.
When my mom would come home from work.
Oh. Just seeing her walk through the door, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else want to share?
Later in life, I realized that I needed my mom to be more present.
Okay.
And my dad too.
Yeah. Yeah. Which leads me to my next question. Do you all know that it was almost like breadcrumbing? Whatever your mom did, your dad too, but your mom, you kind of tucked it away in your head?
Can you explain that a little more?
Of course. So behaviors, expressions, mannerisms, as you saw them, right? Because when you were younger, the best way that you learn is by modeling, right? And I'm sure, I know my mama did. Do as I say, not as I do. And what did I do? As she did. Because that was the easiest way for me to learn, right? So even simple things. The way that I fold towels. My mom didn't sit me down and say, this is the way you fold towels. I watched her. And that's why I fold the towels the way that I do now. So those things that your parents do are people who are very influential. And it's usually your family of origin. And today we're talking specifically about your mom. You take those things and you tuck them away.
I was just going to say that the older I get, the more I realize that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can attest to that as well because my mom never showed her emotions or anything. She was always quiet. She did what she did. And that was that, asking questions. You may get some answers, but most of the time she was just not emotional. She didn't show any kind of emotions or anything.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, so me and my siblings played a prank on my mom for April Fool's. And the prank was that I was pregnant. So she eventually believed that I was, and my brother-in-law pointed out that she wasn't excited to my sister, and my sister asked me, she was like, have you ever noticed that my mama is never excited whenever, like, uber excited, like, oh my God, really? Whenever we tell her good news, it's always like a calm, chill, oh, okay, or congratulations. It's never excitement. So in so many words, my mom didn't express her feelings either. And I can say that she suppressed a lot of her feelings.
Okay.
I think for me, Barbara was wishy-washy.
Okay. Say more.
So I think the way that I am with my own daughter, because like dealing with Barbara, I took emotion to everything. So I felt everything. Barbara would be critical of me. She would say something positive and then tear me down right after. So I'd kind of be like, well, who are you? Like, what are you showing me? So I feel like I try to be the opposite with my daughter by showing up, listening. If I feel a certain way, I try to keep it to myself because, you know, she already deals with her own personal stuff. And so I don't want my opinion, which may come across negative, to affect her. Like, hey, she don't believe in me, or that type of thing. Like, my mom would be like, that's why you ain't got no friends. Or fix your face, or don't smile in pictures. I'm like, dang, really? So she says now she has like a black hole in her memory. So when I tell her stuff, she starts crying because I guess she can't believe she said it. Or if I think a time in our life where we were going through a lot of stuff that, you know, you try to numb yourself, you start numbing yourself from everything. So we've gotten to a better relationship, of course, but when I've had those talks, those are the things I remember. You would lift me up and tear me down at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Whew.
I think for me, I can remember, I have memories of watching my mom go through certain situations where I wish she would have stood up for herself, but she kind of just took it on, sometimes with a smile. And I would ask her, I remember in some situations I would ask her, like, why didn't you react like da-da-da-da? And she would just be like, I just leave it alone. And I'm like, I'm hot. Like, I would be upset. But you're like, and I guess that's where I learned that.
Okay. You knew it was coming. You knew it was
right.
coming.
She would keep a cool head in situations where I feel like she should have reacted, because maybe this person is taking advantage of her, but she's just letting them get away with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. All right. So we just talked about a whole lot of words and a whole lot of circumstances and situations. And if you don't feel like saying it out loud, please put it in the chat. What are some words that come to your mind when you describe your mom? Good, bad, and different. There's non-judgmental curiosity here.
For me, that's the one thing that stands out is my mom is a giver.
Okay.
She's a giver. She's a caring person, but she's also reserved.
Okay. A giver and reserved. Can somebody be the scribe in the chat for me and type that out? Thank you so much. What else?
My mom was resilient, giving, strong. Well, not giving. I meant forgiving. Strong and really smart.
Thank you, Pam. I'm sorry. I started doing it, but thank you. Yeah. I love all of that. As woman of God, judgmental, servant heart. Okay. What else?
My mom is a very strong, independent woman. She, as long as my grandmother, always taught my sister and I to be very strong, independent women. She cussed like when we were growing up, she cussed like a sailor. She is a little bit different now as she is older.
You know what I call that, Kimberly?
What?
I call it BC and AD, before Christ and after his death.
is totally different.
Yes, I have an aunt like that. Oh goodness gracious! People will be like, "That's your aunt did that." I'm like, "That's BC. That's before Christ. Come on now."
Yes, and I mean
Sorry.
a firecracker.
Yes.
Like, very firecracker. You couldn't say anything to her without her having a response, and she does that a little bit now, but it's not as bad as it was when I was a child. But when I say she'll do anything for me and my sister, she will. She'll give the clothes, shirt, or whatever she got to. She'll give it to us, no matter what. But she was very, very strict on us when it came to education. She was just strict on us, period. So I appreciate that, being older, I appreciate that. But then some of the things that she did or said with us, I make sure that I do not trickle it down to my son. Mommy, as you hear him calling. Mommy.
Hey. So I heard unaccountable in the chat, calm in the storm, judgmental. I keep going back to that one. So it seems like this juxtapose where it's all of these wonderful things, but at the same time, not so great things. Kind of hypocritical.
I can relate to the judgmental. And someone else said earlier that their mom will say something good and in the next breath tear them down. She's better, much, much better than my mom is, than she used to be about it. But she has a very hard time giving compliments to my sister and I. So like, for example, she's the total opposite now when it comes to complimenting me. I'm not sure what happened or what changed, but she would say we're always having events where we have to be formal, so we'll all get dressed, and my mom will be like, "Oh, that dress is pretty on you, but why do you have your hair like that? Why do you?" She could never just say, "You're pretty. That looks good on you." She'll say it, and then she has to say something negative behind it. And I don't know. And I'm sure, like my grandmother, I love my grandmother, but she wasn't very affectionate. And I honestly could see her being, I don't remember exactly hearing her say those things, but I could see my grandmother saying those same things.
Yeah.
LaToya, now that you say that, I feel the same way about my mom. She will, I guess she'll make comments that's supposed to be funny, but I'm not laughing. So it'll be, yeah. And as a child, it wasn't like this, but now that I'm older, it's like this. She said something. It was like, basically she called me ugly, but it was supposed to be in a joking manner. And I just kind of just rolled my eyes because I'm just like, why you just can't say, in my mind, why you just can't say that I'm pretty or that I'm beautiful? Because that's really what you want to say, but I don't know. I feel like it's very condescending. So I don't know. It's like I don't know.
You do.
But I
You
think
hit
a part
on
of them,
it.
they have a hard time giving it because they weren't really giving it. It wasn't really given to them.
That is true, because I can say growing up, I was never told that I was beautiful or I was smart, or I was never given words of affirmation.
And almost each and every one of you said something about words of affirmation and knowing that you mattered. That's that emotional safety. The feeling is there. You know somebody cares and loves you. It's not a question.
I think for me, what you just said in regards to the emotion and knowing somebody's there, I think that also correlates with my sexual abuse as a child and molestation. When I told my mom, I think I told her I was maybe 30 years old, 33, and I'm 41 now. And it was kind of like, well, I was abused too. I was like, this ain't about you. This is my story. And I think that goes back to what I've learned. Thank God for therapy. One of the things that I learned was that sometimes as we start to shine, because as we get older or the new generations come in, we become more aware of things. And sometimes our mothers become jealous of us, of things that we possess, that they see in us that they wish they had. And so I finally got the apology a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I got the apology twice. And I didn't cry. I just knew that I've always prayed and said I would not be waiting for an apology. So I was okay. But when she apologized, I said, well, thank you. And I'm grateful to hear what you said. And I accepted it in stride. But she was so emotional. She said, you don't know how much it means to me to finally be able to tell you, I'm sorry. I'm grateful for you. I'm thankful for where we are now. And we don't even talk about the past anymore. But I think that shed light, number one, when she said the heartache from her experiences, it kind of explains the gap that was there. You know, like she was missing something, and as she saw me shining, it was like, well, where'd she get all that from? But it was something I was doing for myself to run away from the abuse that I had, because I knew I needed to get away.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, all parts of that, because that's a lot. And in that, you just saw the legacy that is passed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
The healing that you went to get. You made a conscious decision that this is not going to continue to affect me, right? And I'm going to get healed about this particular thing. And her immediate response that came up when talking to you about what happened to you was, I didn't get that. You should be fine. And what she really probably wanted to say is, I wish I got that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
I wish I got that healing. And so you may have given her hope. I don't know, because I don't know her, but you know.
A little bit, I think so, because there's something she said, by you going through your healing and also putting my daughter in therapy for some of the things that I've experienced when I was married to her stepdad, which is not her biological father. Mm-hmm. She says, your healing and being able to express and cultivate a relationship with your daughter, I'm seeing things that I am working on, even though she doesn't go to therapy, how to improve things about herself and better being able to communicate with me and accept that I'm not going to do what she says, but I make her proud and making the decisions necessary for me and my daughter. So that was the confirmation I needed. I never waited for it. I didn't even pray to God about it. I was like, God, if that's what comes, that's what comes.
Right.
If it doesn't, I understand. She's her mother. We're all learning how to be mothers from our mothers or mothers outside of our.
Say that again. We're all doing what?
We're mothers learning how to be mothers from our mothers or mothers outside of us.
Thank you. That's why I said we learn by seeing. That's the first thing. We see. Then we may do some research on our own. Then we may say, no, that don't feel good. I don't like that. And sometimes we overcompensate. When we come back to the middle somewhere. This job does not come with a manual or a job description. And what we know is that for women in the African diaspora, we have experienced lots of trauma. So much so that people don't even think, oh, that happened to you, you fine. Keep going, right? So thinking about, and again, I'm not excusing behaviors from what has happened before us. I'm not excusing it. I'm trying to lay a foundation or an environment for understanding, right? So I did a word cloud. And I just went through, I think it was like randomly, like 10, 12 of my female clients. And I pulled out words, like I had them pull out words that were associated with their mom. The clients that I pulled were Black mothers, or they were Black. And these are some of the words that came up. What are some of the things that you see that stick out to you?
Unavailable.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah.
Inspirational,
yeah.
Unfulfilled.
Whew.
Insecure.
Insecure. Lonely.
Hustler, support, broken.
So I want you to look at the feelings wheel, okay? And remember when we started, that at the top, it said the impact on a girl like me. Now, I'm not talking about you, the grown woman, running things, doing things, whatever. It's not what I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the girl. When you see these words, when you think about your mom, What are some of the feelings that come up for you?
Sad.
Yeah. You want to expand on that?
Me personally, in my situation, sometimes I feel like I hate the cards that my mom has been dealt. Because I feel like there's like no way out of her situation.
Yeah.
And I felt like there's no, she's constantly people pleasing and overworking it, and there's no support. And I'm just kind of left to deal with the cards that have been dealt too.
So it sounds like you're really feeling that sacrificial word for her.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you see, but sacrificial, then there's sacrifice, then there's sacrificing love. Like sacrifice is up here.
Authoritative, sacrificial.
Yeah, it's like up here a couple of times.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share?
The word distant.
You want to expand on that?
Well, as I stated before, we're in a better place now. And I think it also, I hate to say it that way, I lost my stepfather last year, and I've been the one that's more supportive to my mother, even though I live 2 hours away. My brother lives 50 minutes away. And I talk to my mama every day, because now she lives in the country by herself. So I want to make sure you woke up in the morning. I want to make sure you got home from work.
Right.
That's all I need to know. I can't see you, but if I know you answer the phone, you're okay.
That's good. There's a saying, and I want those of you who have brothers to let me know if you think this is right or wrong or whatever, that mothers love their sons and raise their daughters.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. True. Thank you. Emphatic, yes.
Okay.
All my brother's bills during my Mother's Day, and he's 45.
I actually have a different experience. I felt like I actually was spoiled more than my brother, but that's due to my mom like having my brother at a young age, and I feel like he saw her sacrifice more because by the time she had me, she was remarried and she was in a healthier relationship at that time. And I remember my brother always telling me like, "Yeah, you were spoiled." Like he would tell me stories about how my mom's attitude kind of lightened up whenever she had me, which has always been interesting to me.
You didn't think it lightened?
I don't know, because I didn't know any other attitude, but him, I don't know, certain stories that he would tell me, I was like, oh wow, I didn't know she did that. I didn't know that she could act like that. Not to say that she was I guess she was more assertive. I feel like whenever she was younger, maybe it was because she was in survival mode, or backed into a corner, she would stand up for herself more, especially like a young mother with a child living in DC. And
yeah,
you know, when she had me, with my father, he was in the army, so living on a military base in Kansas, like she didn't have to defend herself from much at that time, as far as I know. But said all that to say, I have a different experience. I feel like me and my brother, the treatment that we got are night and day.
Right. She may have had to be in her masculine more when she was a single parent as a teenager, and then when she got remarried, she could stay in her feminine. Maybe.
I can see that.
Yeah. What women tend to do is make sure that their girls can and will survive. The word that sticks out to me is survivor. It's just the one that sticks out for me. That as a black girl, as a black woman, you will survive. Through the good, the bad, the ugly, the hurt, the sacrifice, the trauma, through all of that.
I have a question.
Sure.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they don't also teach their sons to survive?
Because that's what was done to them. So they're going to do it to they're going to do it to what looks like them. How are your uncles?
I think also women, we live in a different world than men.
Say it again.
And a lot of our mothers grew up with molestation. So they're teaching us to protect ourselves from that.
I was having that
Or
conversation.
that, like, you ain't got to depend on a man. You're going to make sure you know how to cook and take care of yourself and keep a house.
Right. I was just having this conversation. Thank you for saying that, you grow up with the thought that you will be molested. Not, it might happen. No, you going to get molested. This is going to happen. So you got to be strong and you got to, and I'm like, wow, that makes me feel the way. Gosh. Any of you all told that information, that something is going to happen to you? Just be independent and strong and you can get through it?
No.
Never.
No, like I was never told like something would happen to you. It was, I guess, so my mom used to always say, don't ever depend on a man for anything.
Okay.
Always have your own.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing like, no fear mongering or anything.
Wow.
Well, I guess it was kind of, because if you don't do it, then who gonna do it? I think she kind of taught me that as well, the way she moved. If you don't get it done, then it won't get done.
Right. So relationships with men or having conversations or going out or things of that nature. Never. You need to protect yourself. You need to.
No, actually, neither one of my parents has never ever had a conversation with me about boys growing up.
Interesting.
As you can see, I had to figure it out on my own. I had my sisters and I had friends.
Yeah.
And I had my brother.
I agree to that. Makes perfectly sense.
I wasn't taught anything about it. I was just told what not to do.
Same.
I agree with you on that. Sorry. And it made me want to do it
even more.
Yeah, like for me, my mom, if I had an incident or anything like that, I went and I told her, and she was just like, "No, you tell them no," and that was it. No explanation as to why or anything like that.
Wow. So
I feel like a lot of for me, it's just like at the time in which I grew up and the time in which my mother grew up and my parents grew up, that they were never talked to about or spoken to about any sexual relations. No one ever educated them on that. I think as far as like anyone that they would have felt protected by or safe from. And, and so that they never had that conversation with me. And so I think it was just like that era and that time where it was just like, we don't talk about sex. You just don't have it, and keep it to yourself. Keep things under wraps. And I think it was definitely that era from my parents.
Well, understanding that sex was a way to weaponize or keep people in place as well. Remember, so I will say my great-grandmother's father was a slave. It's not like so far removed. And then also understanding that some of that trauma continued to keep other people in place in relationships. So sex was something that was also used to manipulate, to harm. And so if we don't talk about it, then it won't happen. Nothing's going to happen. So people typically don't talk about sex. They have it, but they don't talk about it, which makes a bigger problem. In the chat, it says we didn't talk about sex either. I think my mom didn't talk to me. I wouldn't have gone through a lot of things I went through because I was trying to figure it out myself because we didn't talk about it. That's a lot of people's stories. Not talking about it. So, and for those of you who were on last week, my mom called me and I answered the phone and we were talking. I asked her about a secret. So I went and I asked her, Kimberly, I think you told me to ask about the story. And we talked about, my mom did talk to me a little bit about sex. I'm going to say this much. I got a book at 9 and it was only because I started my period and the book had some of everything in it. But
who must our bodies ourselves?
It may have been. It may have been. It may have been. I remember I got a Bible, I got a lamb, and I got that book. And I asked her. Say that again.
We have that book in our house.
Yeah.
I remember, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think my mom walked me through it. I think I just was. I went through it for myself.
I went through it for myself, and so I don't know if she had. My mom grew up on farm and all of that. And yeah, my dad kind of took her away from all that. And so I think when they got married, she was virgin. Anyway, she didn't do too much. But I was asking her because at that time, and y'all are about to find out a lot about me, at that time, I'd already been sexually assaulted at 9. At 8, really, that's when it happened. But I still didn't tell her what had happened, right? She gives me this book. She don't have no conversation with me. And so years later, we're having this conversation and I tell her what happened. And she tells me the same exact thing, that the same exact thing happened to her, you know, and I'm like, geez. And then she tells me that the same exact thing happened to my grandmother. And the same exact thing happened to my great grandmother. That made me feel away. That made me feel away. That this legacy of harm by people we love because we're not really educating each other. And so I'll be very honest, in my maternal run, even though I'm still a mama, but anyway, I over-educated my children to the point where they get tired of me talking about sex. They do. And I'm an open book, and if they ask me anything, which typically they don't, but I'll be like, hey, I'm curious to know, da-da-da-da-da, and they're like, no, mother. But when their friends are having sex, they'll tell me about it, and I'm hopeful that when they do decide that they'll let me know. But yeah, so this whole thought of secrets has been woven into the fabric of our relationship. And that's the thing that's not missing. I mean, that is missing in here. But I believe one of the things that kept the secrets that keeps coming in my eyesight is church. That's just me. Thoughts? Uh-oh, we all got quiet. Okay, I'll leave that for y'all to think about. So
I can relate to you on that because my mom didn't have those type of conversations with us either. So when I was 15 and when my sister turned 15, she immediately took us to the gynecologist and put us on birth control. She didn't explain anything. She didn't tell us why. We knew, she pretty much was like, she used to always say, well, I don't want to be a grandmother and I'm not about to take care of your children. And if you have a child, you're going to take care of it by yourself. Wherever you go, that baby going to go. So that's pretty much the motto she used to always instill in us. And, we were having sexual experiences before we even got on birth control. I lost my virginity at 15. I believe my sister lost her virginity right at 15, 16. So it was right before she put us on birth control. That's when we started experimenting. And I guess, I don't know how she knew or found out or whatever, but once we turned 15, that's what she did. She put us on birth control. She never explained sex to us. Never had that type of conversation up until this day, and they haven't had this conversation. So, yeah, right. I can relate.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
I can say though, I never had the conversation with my parents or with my mama. If I asked any question I asked, she told me the truth. She told me about whatever I asked. But if you don't know what to ask, then yeah.
You're not gonna ask. You're not gonna ask if you don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
I just think it's really interesting. I agree, Courtney. I think the thing with my mom is, she was very intuitive, and when I was younger and a teenager, I had an unwanted pregnancy, and I didn't know what was going on with me, and my mom asked me if I was pregnant, and I said no, but I actually was. She knew before I did. And, and so I just think, I think our mothers, well, at least mine, was just very intuitive. It just still, I think your mama was the same way, Courtney, in that if you asked a question, she would give you an answer, but there was no volunteering of information. That was for sure.
Yeah. I think also to add to that, sex was not a liberating thing. It was something, again, that was weaponized, and that was for the man's pleasure. That's it. And so I think you all know that I'm about to write this dissertation for sex therapy, and yeah, but we're still really having these conversations that aren't taboo. Like, women can and do enjoy sex, and they don't have to be thought of as a whore or a thought or whatever lingo is going on right now, that sex is for your pleasure. But when we think about our mothers and our grandmothers, even thinking that, that's not really a thought that was in their head. And so when we're talking about even becoming a mother, right, because you have to have sex to become a mother, the thought is it was sacrificial sex to even get there. So, and in some instances it was, but that's another conversation for another day. So with that in mind, we have some homework. I know this is group and I'm giving y'all homework, but I think it'll be great. So this is a reflective exercise for you to write down one positive and one challenging aspect of your relationship with your mother. So one positive thing and one challenging thing. And then with this resource that I absolutely love called the Untold Voice Journal. And for those of you who are in process with me, you know I love this. I want you to journal about it. Now, I journal, but I don't like handwrite journaling because my brain is typically going faster than my hand, and then I get frustrated and then I say forget it. But the Untold Voice Journal, basically what I do is I put my earbuds in, I go for a walk, and I'm like talking to the app. People typically think I'm talking on the phone, whatever. They don't need to know my business. And when I'm done, it's like, okay, thank you so much for sharing. I heard you talking about a stressful relationship with your mother. Can I give you some resources for forgiveness or whatever you were talking about? Or it asks you a deeper question to help you think more on that topic. So that is your homework. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. Yay, that means everybody's gonna do it. Ha ha.
Can you send that in the email?
Yes, if you go to the App Store and say Untold Voice Journal, it'll send it. Hold on, let me, if I stop sharing, I can put it in the chat. Hold on. Let me see. Copy. Okay, sorry. Hello? Can I go back? No? Okay. Are we sharing it now? Okay, you can still see the screen. Here it is. There you go. Okay. Yay! Thank you. Downloads. Any final thoughts? Feelings? Emotions?
Thank you for sharing, April, and having this topic tonight. I just, for me, I'm going to spend some time recovering from this topic.
I think you should. I think now you know me. This is not an easy thing, and I'm building on something. You know that, right? Because something within, this is something that I've been noticing in the practice, because I don't just think about or pull these things out of the sky. What I've been noticing is one of the questions that keeps coming up, especially when we talk about manifesting purpose and getting to your place and all of those things, is, you know what? I keep doing these things, but something keeps getting in the way, and I keep going back to old habits and things. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the thing.
What is the thing?
The healing that needs to happen as it relates to relationships from the past. Yeah.
It's interesting. My cousin is in Bali, and she said she went to go see a seer. And she said that when she talked to the seer said she's facing challenges in having romantic relationships due to feeling abandoned by her biological mother. And she has she grew up with a stepmom. When she talks about her mother, or when she says her mother, she's referring to her stepmom. She's my cousin, though, because her biological mother and my mother are sisters. And so it's just, it was interesting to me that, my cousin, she's telling me that she's done a lot of work and a lot of healing around, the hurt that she felt from her biological mother. And so we were literally trying to go through things that she still may be feeling behind her relationship with her biological mother. I don't know, I think I found that just to be interesting, and trying to heal from our relationships from the past. And even though we think we've resolved them, there's still things that we need to uncover.
Most definitely.
I just want to say thank you. I know I talk a lot.
You're fine.
But I also know too, one of my therapists, I went through 3 because of the transitions from the, clinic. But one of the things my therapist said was that she had never met anybody so eager to heal. And I would walk in with prompts and she'd say, well, what you got for me?
Right.
So most of the time she never gave me an assignment, but I knew deep down, I was like, this is deeper than me. And as I took time to talk, I spent a lot of time talking to my daughter, and I created space for her to talk because I told her one thing I don't want her to be is a lady growing up without a voice. You're sheltering all these emotions and these feelings because you're protecting other people, but what about you? And I told her from the beginning that as your mom, I've been honest with you from day one. And she said, sometimes I be wishing you kind of left some surprise for me as a kid. But I told her, because you asked me questions, if you asked me, that means someone gave you the information too soon. You found it somewhere, and I'd rather you get the truth than a lie.
Right.
And your safe space is me. So if it comes to somebody harming you, whatever the case may be, I need you to know that you got me no matter what the case may be. And I'm your biggest protector. I'm not going to put you in a predicament to hurt yourself. And like my last therapist before she left the clinic, now I'm in search for somebody else eventually. I recognize that some of my friends say just by me talking, it's not that I'm healing myself. I create a space for people to feel like it's a work that I need to do if I want a better version of myself. As much as we say I want a better version of myself, I had to sit in this shit. Like I had to cry. I had to suck up the woe is me. I had to own my part in some of my own trauma. The things that I held on to that blocked me from some things. And as much as, like I said, I'm in my 40s, it's not too late.
No.
I want to live in old age in peace. I like my solitude and I'm a protected at all costs, but as budding Black women and whatever it is that we're doing, I'm getting emotional because I really do believe that therapy works. And when you're ready, break it open, crack that fortune cookie open, and it's going to help you see some things about yourself, the people around you. And when people start recognizing that you have boundaries, they're going to have to deal with their stuff. And either they're going to deal with it or you got to go. That's it.
Yep. That's good. You put me in the mind of the story of corn. And so next time I'll tell you all the story of corn. But as a teaser, just to think about corn and planting something, what kind of soil were you planted in? That's going to affect you.
Yeah.
And to think, just because you've had several harvests, that impact is no longer there. You got deep roots.
Yeah.
The impact is still there. You have to decide whether you want to continue to be in that environment, whether it's a mental, physical, emotional environment or a spiritual environment. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But yeah, it's what is that environment and how is that manifesting in your life right now as you move forward to your purpose? And so to come back to your question, why I decided to do that is why. Because I know Finding Queendom was created for women in the African diaspora to walk towards their purpose and to get what it is that they want to get out of this life. I don't just talk about, let's be on purpose for, no, I'm being for real. I'm trying to have you manifest what it is that you want to have in this lifetime. Because as far as I know, this is the only one we got. And then there's an afterlife, but that's another conversation. Well, Queens, it has been a pleasure. Remember, this is a 3-part series. Tonight was part 1. Please invite somebody. Please invite somebody. Yeah. Invite somebody. Invite some friends or someone who you feel like, as you said, they're ready for their healing. They're ready. And just to let you know, I am taking clients. I have like that much space, but I am taking clients. So anyway, big hug to all of you. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, April,
this evening.
Everyone. Thank you for sharing.
Of course. That's what we do.
Everyone was very, oh God, next week I feel like I'm a little bit anxious about next week. This topic.
There's no reason to be anxious. You know what we're talking about.
I know, but it's an emotional topic for me. I feel like because I'm tired and I have so many feelings surrounding.
Can I give you a small gift, Kim, before we go? I think, and I've turned off my thing so I can say your name. I don't know that you've actually grieved.
You know, I don't know. Okay. Why do you think that?
I just don't think that you have. I think you, again, I alluded to it earlier, and I asked people, but you didn't have to co-sign on it. We are afraid, as women, we got this strong nomenclature, right? And if we think if we fall apart, we'll never be able to put it back together. And I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to da-da-da. And we don't allow ourselves really to grieve sometimes.
I mean, the thing is, you know, tonight particularly, to be honest, yes, I didn't want to really get to delve into too much about my mom because I want to chill out tonight. I want to have some popcorn. I want to watch TV.
Right.
I want to just.
I don't think I'm just talking about tonight, though.
Like, be easy. But the thing is, with since everybody's like still on. So how old am I? I'm 49, and my mom died when I was 17, and so I've spent the majority of my life without my mom, and sometimes it still shocks the shit out of me, and that I've spent the majority of my life without her, and she was like phenomenal, and I miss her so much. It hurts, and I've had dreams lately about her still being alive. You know how people used to have like jokes about Tupac still being alive, but just like somewhere. Right. So I've been having dreams about her still being alive, and like she just had to step away, and like my father knew that she was really still alive, and you know just kept it from me and my sister, and like they had been having like rendezvous and meetings, but and so she had popped up and told us that, you know, she just needed a break from life, and so anyway, didn't need to go down that tangent, but
no, so you did need to. You needed to.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
I have a question. Because I kind of do that. I take death really hard. And I'll do that with people that have passed in my life. I'll make stories up, and I don't think like I told my sister maybe like a week or so ago that I don't think I really grieve my uncle. It's just like he's somewhere. I don't know where he at. Well, okay, I do tell myself. So he was a truck driver, so he's on the road. So like when we have family gatherings, I just kind of say that.
Right. There's an avoidance. We want to be in comfort, but, and this is hard, discomfort helps us grow. Growth is not comfortable. I say that a lot. It is not comfortable, but it's necessary. And I never want to rush anyone in the grieving process, because grief is not like this. It's not a straight line. It's all over the place. It is.
It's like the death of my mom. I don't think it's something I'll ever get over. And I don't think I'll ever get over it because of just how things happened when I was younger. And
I don't think it's a get over it, though. I don't think it's a get over it. And there you go. And how I behaved. I was waiting for you. It's a forgiveness, Kimberly. And that's something we're going to have to work on, because there's guilt and shame in that. And I'm not going to push you because you want to eat popcorn and chill out tonight. And I get it. Today has been a little overwhelming. But we're going to put a pin in it.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're going to put a pin in it. And we're going to come back. Big hug to you. Big hug to each and every one of you queens. Thank you. Thank you for supporting and sharing this space and holding space.